So the Browns have made a signing just a week before the NFL draft, and I think this could have a little bit of implications for what the Browns do in the upcoming draft. But before we begin breaking all this down, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I want to get 82 more subs as we continue to build our channel and chip away at the overall goal of getting to nearly 50,000 by the time the NFL draft is over with. But let's get to know the latest member of the Cleveland Browns roster. It is Julian Okwara. He was a third-round draft pick out of Notre Dame by the Detroit Lions back in 2020. He's actually from the UK, born in London, England. So a little of international flair, a little beans for breakfast coming over to Cleveland. Last year, though, he was with the Arizona Cardinals. He was with the Lions. Does not stick around for too long. Goes to the Eagles just for their practice squad, then goes over to Arizona, now in Cleveland, but with the Cardinals a year ago, appeared in 13 games. He started one of them. I mean, the numbers don't really jump out to you a whole lot. He's got 10 career sacks, I think it is, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you can see what he did up in Detroit for 4 seasons, where he started his career off as a promising type of draft pick. Round 3, I think expectations are always going to be on the higher end for guys taken 1 through 3 in the NFL draft. Now, the last few seasons, he's shown some glimpses on special teams. You can look at his snap counts on the right between Arizona and Detroit, the only 2 places he has seen the regular season field. But 3 out of the last 4 years, he has played well over 200 defensive snaps. So I'm not convinced this is a 90th guy on their roster type signing. Now, when we look at the Browns' defensive line, you're at a pretty good spot at defensive end. We actually ran out of room for him, so he has to go all the way down to the bottom of the depth chart. But Cleveland now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish defensive ends, depending on what you want to call some player. Maybe Kamara could be looked at as one. But regardless, you're very deep and you're very loaded at that position. So the initial reaction by a lot of people with this Okwara signing is, oh, the Browns are good at defensive end. They're not going to go with, say, Abdul in round 1 of the draft. Maybe. Are we really going to believe that the Browns' number 2 overall draft pick hinges on a player that you and I had never heard of before this video? I don't think so. My money is on the Browns saw either 2 things. 1, a good player at a cornerstone position that they wanted to bring in as OTAs and offseason workouts begin ramping up. 2, maybe this is unfortunately a clue of an injury at that position as players start returning back to Cleveland for organized team activities. And the Browns are like, well, we're short a defensive end or 2, so let's sign someone off the street. And, oh, this guy's got 10 career sacks and a former third-round draft pick. Sure, probably one of the best opportunities we're going to have right now. So, no, I do not believe the Browns' pick at number 2 hinges on this Julian guy. He's going to have a monster year for us. To hell with Abdul and his 12 sacks and generational speed and athleticism at points. We're all in on Julian Okwara. So I'm going to pull back a little bit on, the cat's out of the bag. Browns aren't going with Carter anymore at number 2. Don't you know there's a guy from the UK on the roster? So if that is the case, maybe the Browns pass on Carter for like Travis Hunter, and I don't think it's related to this free agent signing. But it's still fun when you see a move made really at any point of the offseason. But a week and change before the NFL draft, fair to say that there may be some level of a connection here. The connection could be the Browns are kind of forecasting what they want to do in day 3 of the draft, and it's not a very loaded defensive end draft class beyond some of the top guys. And when rounds 5, 6, 7 get here, they don't think there's going to be a name out there that they're really drawn to. So in order to bring on another defensive end, if they can't do it in day 3, we'll get it done in free agency for a very cheap contract. So I think that's the more likely takeaway from this right here. As the NFL draft is, just like I said, a week and a half away. I can't wait. Browns are back in round number 1 for the first time since taking Greg Newsome in 2021. I mean, the last couple of years, the earliest pick they've had was Mike Hall at 52. Remember, they traded back in 2022 with the Texans to get more draft capital. Then in 2023, they trade their second-round pick for Elijah Moore and the Jets' third-round pick. And last year in 2024, they stood still. And at pick 52, right, I think it was 52, they selected Mike Hall, who wore number 51. That's why I'm getting all twisted up here. So that's kind of the latest on the signing and what implications it could bring for the draft. While we're talking defensive end, I just wanted to give Isaiah McGuire like a minute or two of airtime because last year, while the stats may not jump out to you, 2.5 sacks, he showed, I thought, a ton of growth in a year where the Browns were looking for some playmakers on defense with the way they were playing as a unit. Alex Wright went down with an injury early on in the season. We knew Miles would always be Miles, but ever since Garrett got to Cleveland, the search has been on for a partner in crime. And for a little bit, that looked like Clowney maybe, and then that didn't work out. He came back. And Zadarius Smith, he got traded halfway through the year, and that opened up the opportunity for a former day 3 draft pick, right? 4th rounder out of Missouri 2 years ago to step forward and take a huge leap in that season. So I'm excited for what McGuire can bring this upcoming year. I think if they don't go with Carter, we're going to see basically the same pass rush as last year. In fact, let's just revisit the depth chart real quick right now, minus Zadarius Smith. So you're going to have Miles opposite of Okoronkwo, and then Wright and McGuire. Really, I think it's a 3-man rotation between Okoronkwo, Wright, and McGuire, and it's a fun training camp battle to watch for because I don't believe that Okoronkwo is just going to be handed the starting gig. Alex Wright looked really good early on last year until he tore his tricep, I think it was, or bicep, and he looked good at the end of 2023. So he was really putting together some nice football at the end of one season, at the start of another season. Wright ends the year on a high note, and Okoronkwo is the highest paid of the bunch. So all 3 players kind of having a nice runway to get that starting defensive end gig opposite of 95. Now, to wrap up the video, if you had to make the pick, not what do you think is going to happen, but if you were in charge, who would you select? Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter? I think Abdul Carter is going to be a 10-plus sack player for a long time, and right now it may not feel like a huge need to add a defensive end with the way Wright and McGuire have shown potential and flashes, but in 3 or 4 years, you're going to be very happy that he's on the Browns roster. But my brain tells me they're going to go with Travis Hunter. So personally, I'd pick AC, but my money's on Travis Hunter going to the Browns. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. If you have not yet, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Anytime news breaks like this, we're going to get you a video. So scroll on down and click that sub button. Let's pick a card. Reed, which card are you thinking?
Can I go not that, but
What was that?
it was King of Clubs.
Okay.
I'm going King of Spades.
All right. I'm going to go King of Clubs. Here we go. Jack of Diamonds. Jack of Diamonds. All right. I will see everyone tomorrow for a little draft video that I was going to do today, and then this signing happened. So come back for kind of a draft rumors roundup video tomorrow morning.